Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm the psych coach, and today I'm going to be talking to you about mastering your emotions. Mastering your emotions means that you feel like you've got a degree of control about how you feel. It means that you don't constantly feel at the mercy of how your body's choosing to respond to external events. This video will take strategies from Cognitive Behavioural Therapy and give you 5 tips on what you can put in place to try and feel more in control of your emotions and ultimately feel happier as a result. Tip number 1, remember you have a choice about how you view things. I don't mean that you can turn negative situations into positive, but what I do mean is when there's a stressful situation going on, we have a choice about how we view it and indeed how we respond to it. If something's really stressful, it can sometimes feel like we don't have a choice about how we're going to respond. But try and give yourself a few minutes to think, what is my response going to be in this situation? How can I respond in a way that feels a little healthier to me? How can I view this situation in a way that feels slightly less overwhelming? And by doing that, you're allowing yourself to have the space to consider your emotional response before you actually give into it. Tip number 2 is to try and reframe. Trying to reframe a situation means taking the lens that you're looking at the situation with and moving the perspective slightly. It means trying to do things like viewing something as a total impossibility as a distant possibility, trying to view something as an absolute failure to something that still may be able to succeed slightly, viewing something as totally negative into something that may be slightly less negative than you originally thought. By reframing and shifting your perspective slightly, you are also giving yourself space to have an emotional response that is different. Changing how we think about situations absolutely influences how we feel about them. So do what you can to reframe a situation, even if it's just slightly. Tip number 3 is to be flexible. Being flexible means not being rigid and dogmatic. The more rigid and dogmatic you are, the more stressed you're going to be, telling yourself that you must feel a certain way, that things shouldn't be like this, that things absolutely must turn out like this. All of that will cause you stress. Being flexible and accepting who you are and being flexible about how you respond to a situation and not getting caught up in how things should be or must be will give you a significant degree of control. If you have a lot of words like should and must to in your vocabulary, then you are going to be more prone to experiencing intense emotion when things don't turn out the way you want. So try and avoid the musts and the shoulds and try and think in a more flexible way. Because more flexible, preferential thinking will typically lead to a less intense emotional response. Tip number 4 is not to judge your emotions. If you're feeling particularly angry about something, particularly hurt, particularly sad, what can sometimes happen is you then judge that emotion and think, I shouldn't be feeling like that. And you end up feeling guilty about the fact you're angry. You feel sad about the fact you're anxious. You feel, frustrated about the fact you're feeling so flat. By judging the emotions and subsequently telling yourself you shouldn't be feeling them, or that you're weak for feeling the way you are, or you shouldn't be responding the way you do, you're compounding the problem. Instead, try and be as accepting as you can of the emotions. Accept the fact that that's simply your emotional response. You don't need to judge it. You don't need to get worked up about it. Just accept the fact that's your current way of dealing with the situation. Not judging the way you're responding emotionally will take away a level of emotion. It will stop you from experiencing a secondary emotion about your response. So don't judge yourself for having the emotions that you're having. And tip number 5 is to trust that the emotions will pass. Part of mastering emotions is accepting the fact that they will come, they will reach their peak, and they will go back down again. Whether that's happiness, anxiety, depression, all emotions will come and they will go. And when you're riding the storm of it, that can feel really intense. But hold on to the fact that it will pass. This too will pass. And that's a liberating thought process to have instead of getting caught up in this is never going to end, this is going to keep going on. Trust they will pass. By putting into practice reframing, more flexible thinking, being accepting and not judging your emotional responses takes a lot of practice, but it also means you will feel like you're more in control of the emotional responses that you do. So practice. If you've enjoyed today's tips, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll give you plenty more tips on how you can use psychology on a day-to-day basis.